The sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the peculiar landscape of the Biowhisper Forest. Mark, a lone explorer with a passion for the extraordinary, stood at the edge, staring into the dense thicket of genetically modified trees. These were no ordinary woods, they were designed to synchronize with human thoughts, a cutting-edge experiment that promised to reveal the innermost fears and memories of anyone who dared to venture inside. Mark had read about the forest's abilities in scientific journals, but there was a thrill that stirred within him a sense of adventure that overshadowed any lingering caution. With his backpack filled with basic supplies and a high-tech headset to monitor his thoughts, he stepped past the boundary that marked the entrance. The air grew thick with an earthy aroma, tinged with a sweetness that was oddly inviting. As he wandered deeper, the trees, with their smooth, luminescent bark, began to shift and sway as if they were aware of his presence. He could feel a pulse in the air, a rhythm that matched the beat of his heart. Suddenly, a whisper slithered through the leaves, curling around him like smoke. "Mark," it murmured, smooth as silk. "You've come to remember, haven't you?" A chill ran down his spine. He brushed off the sensation, convincing himself it was just a trick of the mind. But as he walked further, the whispers grew louder, echoing his thoughts, his worries. They danced around him, intertwining with the sounds of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the soft creaking of branches, all mingling into a symphony of his deepest fears. "Do you fear the dark?" The trees cooed, their voices overlapping like a chorus. Mark shivered at the mention of his childhood phobia of the shadows lurking under his bed. He had long since buried that memory, but now it bubbled to the surface. Images of darkened rooms, phantom shapes creeping closer, clawed at his mind. "Come closer," the forest beckoned, luring him deeper into its heart. "Uncover what you've forgotten." With each step, the air thickened, and the atmosphere shifted. Mark fought against the temptation to turn back, intrigued by the notion of retrieving lost memories. What had he forgotten? Why was it so important? His curiosity outweighed his fear, and he pressed on, navigating through the maze of trees that seemed to twist and turn, creating a path that led him further from the entrance. The whispers morphed into haunting laughter, filling the air with a disquieting sense of playfulness. "We know you, Mark. We know all your secrets." The trees rustled, their leaves shimmering as if teasing him. A vision flickered in his mind, a glimpse of his childhood home, the warmth of his mother's embrace, and the sudden void that followed her departure. "I can help you remember," the forest continued, its voice silky yet ominous. "But you must let us in. Let us hear your thoughts, your fears." Mark felt the ground beneath him shift, a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate with his heartbeat. The trees pulsed, a rhythmic invitation that was impossible to resist. The air around him crackled with energy, pulling him closer to the center of the forest, where the canopy thickened, shrouding him in shadows. Suddenly, a towering tree came into view, its trunk wide and gnarled, twisting toward the sky like a desperate hand reaching for salvation. It exuded an ancient aura, almost regal in its stature. The whispers intensified, swirling around him in a chaotic symphony, drowning out all rational thought. "Tell us, Mark, what do you fear most?" He hesitated, caught between the allure of the truth and the trepidation of the unknown. The moment hung in the air, heavy with anticipation. Finally, he breathed in deeply, his voice trembling. "I fear being forgotten." A profound silence enveloped him, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, like a wave crashing against the shore, the whispers erupted in a cacophony of voices. "Forgotten? Forgotten? You think you got forgotten?" The tree's bark began to shift, morphing into a visage of his mother. "You left me," she said, her voice echoing with sorrow. "You moved on without me." The vision blurred, and Mark stumbled back, heart racing. The forest fed off his shock, its excitement palpable. "Stay with us," it sang, its tone dripping with sweetness and deceit. "We can keep your memories alive. We can help you forget the pain." Panic gripped him as he turned to flee, but the path behind him had vanished, swallowed by the forest's twisted embrace. "Where do you think you're going?" The trees hissed, their branches snaking out to grasp at him. "You came here seeking the past. Embrace it." Mark struggled against the foliage, but it was as if the forest itself was alive, pulsating with a hunger for his essence. It yearned for his thoughts, for his fears. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, desperation lacing his voice. "To remember is to feel. the forest whispered, its voice echoing with a resonance that sent shivers through his spine. But you can only feel if you surrender. Give us your fear, and we'll give you peace. As if on cue, images flashed before his eyes, faces he had lost, moments of joy overshadowed by the relentless weight of grief. The laughter of friends long gone, the warm touch of a hand that had once held his. Memories cascaded like an avalanche, threatening to consume him whole. The whispers became an overwhelming tide, drowning out his reason. "No, I won't let you take me," he screamed, forcing his will against the encroaching darkness. He could feel his heart racing, thundering in his chest as he fought against the magnetic pull of the forest. "Your fears are our feast," the trees crooned, their voices growing sharper, more insistent. "Feed us, Mark! Feed us!" Mark's mind raced, grappling with the horror of the forest's true nature. It craved his thoughts, feeding on his anguish and memories, seeking to trap him within its twisted embrace. The whispers morphed into a deafening roar, urging him to submit, to let go of the last vestiges of his will. In that moment of desperation, a spark ignited within him. He recalled the strength he had shown in life, the determination to honor the memories of those he loved, rather than be consumed by them. "I won't forget," he declared, his voice rising above the chaos. "But I won't be defined by my fears either." With newfound resolve, Mark pushed against the thicket of trees, feeling the energy shift as he declared his refusal to succumb. The forest recoiled, the whispers growing frantic, pleading, "Stay with us, you cannot escape." But Mark had found his anchor, a lifeline tethered to the essence of who he was. He bolted forward, racing through the tangled underbrush, dodging branches that reached for him like grasping hands. The path began to clear, the trees retreating as he fought against the current of darkness that sought to ensnare him. Finally, he burst through the foliage and emerged into the fading light of dusk. The forest loomed behind him, silent and still, as if it had lost its power. Mark took a deep breath, his heart pounding, and felt the weight of the memories settle into a more manageable form. He would carry them, yes, but he wouldn't let them consume him. As he stepped away from the edge of the Biowhisper Forest, a shiver ran through him, a reminder of the darkness that lay just beyond the boundary. The whispers lingered, fading into the distance, but never truly gone, echoing in the recesses of his mind. The forest was alive, always watching, always waiting. But so was he, armed with the knowledge that some fears, when faced, lose their power, leaving behind only whispers in the wind.